And that's one of the things that I take with me as I go through. It's like, okay, yo, hardship's gonna come, choices, suffering, consequences is gonna come there. But when you hit the consequences, okay, what phase am I in right now? What did I do? Going back to the your choices and your contracts.
Mm-hmm.
What contract did I make? Okay, I made this contract. I made that choice. Okay, cool. This is my verification from that, right? Or hey, I was in that circle. I was in that orbit. This happened. I got hit with that wave. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now, now you have a choice in front of you. Okay.
Right.
So with that choice is okay. Do I could either A, hold on, right? I could brace for shock. I could take this wave. I could get out the way, right? And with anything with the relationships, that's what happens. Speaking of the dynamic of people, your relationships that you have with people and how you deal with people is a direct reflection of back to your point of your contracts and how you vibrate. It's with the upbringing. Okay, listen, I was raised a certain way. Those lessons, those patterns, those behavioral traits, those generational triggers, those generational traumas, curses, you know, hardships, whatever you want to call them, those shape you.
Right.
Where I vibrate is there comes a point in time where where you gain consciousness and you understand and you start seeing your contracts and you have to make a choice. Like, okay, I can either continue to go down this path, right? Right? Or in my term now, I could throw a stone and continue to throw those stones and just deal with it. Or I could say, you know what? Throwing that stone doesn't do me any favors. It doesn't help my situation. It doesn't help this situation. It actually continues my trauma. Right? Or else it continues my suffering. Let me don't throw that stone. Let me take these stones, put it in my pocket real quick. Let me deal with me. Right?
Right.
And with your comment about the relationship about dealing with yourself, again, understanding how I vibrate is okay. Yeah, I get it. You know, I have to deal with me. So for me, it's and I've been through a ton of stuff. He knows a lot of stuff that I've been through in my life. The first thing I always tell people is this, and the first thing I always tell myself is, I forgive me.
Yeah. That's the beginning of healing.
I forgive me. For me to forgive, I don't even, if you did me wrong, I don't have to forgive you. You know what you did. I forgive me. And once I forgive me, I let it go. Doesn't mean I'm
Right.
gonna move with you the same way.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna move with you the same way.
Right.
Doesn't mean that me and you gonna be back in that we gonna have that same contract. Our relationship is gonna change. But for me, I do the work because I forgive me. Because I made a choice, right? Or I invested in you or whatever to have you in my orbit. So with that forgiveness, when I forgive myself, that means I let it go, right? I just make a data point. And I said, okay, cool, got it. You know, choice, consequences, you get it, move forward.
I Spirit got me got something to say. It's not I disagree with you. It's I'm just gonna throw a perspective out there. Once you forgive yourself, right? And I don't like using the word true healing or whatever the case may be. It's some people y'all bear with me. Thoughts. To know for somebody to do something to somebody else, right? To even do it is a indicator that they're not conscious. For me to harm you is an indicator that I'm not conscious. Because once I truly know myself, I truly know who you are.
Right.
So I could never harm you
Facts.
because
Right.
you are me and I am you.
Right.
So for me to what we would say, do you any type of way, that means I'm in a deep sleep.
Right.
And forgiving yourself is forgiving the other person. Because you, if the person has awakened to consciousness of who they are,
Right.
and I'm using the word truly, then they have no other choice but to forgive the other person because they know that that person is them, but that person is deeply asleep. So it's a saying, once you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And once the way you change the way you look at people, the people you look at change. It's not for you to go after them or chase them or do none of that. I'm not saying that. But what happens is it brings you at a whole nother level of vibration, because if one cannot truly forgive a person, they're actually holding on to the contract.
Right.
You've taken that contract and said, you know what, I ain't gonna deal with it in this lifetime, but I'm willing to it. I know it sounds crazy, but if non-forgiveness is really you agreeing to deal with them again.
Right. And you're going to have
Okay,
to. And
so,
you're going to have to agree with. I mean, you're going to have to deal with them again, because if you don't square this up in this lifetime, the next lifetime y'all have together is going to come right back up, because y'all already signed agreement. Well, we ain't do this right.
I got to
brother.
learn this lesson till
got to
I
learn
have
this
no
lesson.
connections or attachments in any type of way of good,
Right.
bad, or indifference. We know who we are.
Right. Okay. So let me say, and this is where I push back on that.
Go ahead.
I agree. I agree to your point of to truly forgive somebody is also forgiving for you forgiving yourself. You have to forgive them.
I didn't
Right?
say you have to.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't say you have to.
Okay. What did you say?
I'm saying that when you truly, maybe I did say have to, but when you get to that point of forgiveness and you forgive yourself and you realize who you are, it's like you have no choice but to forgive the other person.
Right. Okay,
Because you
so-
know that they're asleep.
Right. So with that understanding,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that hey, they sleep, they don't really see it. When I say I forgive me 1st, right? My point of forgiving me is saying, okay, I see what's happening.
Okay.
I see that you're not awake. I see that you don't know, right? It comes to a point where for you to engage, it takes two parties. So if I forgive you and I say, you know what? I understand the contracts we have with each other, right? I also know this contract it's demonstrative or damaging, in its entirety. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break the contract, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna break
Which
the
you can break.
contract,
Which you can break.
right? Which you can break, and then once I break the contract, now it's an aspect of me saying I'm not going to hold you accountable, right? For your part of the contract to me. I'm not gonna say, well, you owe me or we had a contract. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna hold you. I'm just saying, hey, I got it. But with that is also by me saying that, I understand that you're not at the point or the stage where we can have that dialogue or you have that awareness. So for me to be able to break the contract and keep the contract and redo it, or to what I like to say pivot, once I pivot, the pivot is, hey, I got it, I understand, but we can no longer vibrate or cohabitate or deal or move how we moved before. We now have to change it. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So break it down layman's terms. You got people you show love to. You got people that, let's use Baton. I'm not gonna put no names.
Right.
Right? Nothing but love. Right? You got people you came up with, you got nothing but love for them. So they do something that violates your code. Right? Or they do something, doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean that I hate you. It just means that based on how we move together, you showed me or you did something in the aspect showed me that the level or how I viewed you is not how you move, who you truly are. So now I have to say, okay, out of one or two things. One, I have to change the contract. I have to distance myself. And two, if you value what we have, before we can even move forward, there has to be a conversation. And it has to be an open conversation to the point like, yo, hey, look, you did X, Y, and Z. You don't have to say sorry. I'm not looking for a sorry. I'm looking for acknowledgement of
What you done?
not what you did, acknowledgement of, yo, it happened.
It happened.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because being sorry, I don't want to hear that. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking it's like, because you made a choice, right? Got a piece of paper, real quick. I got this gum in my mouth. I'm gonna hold it.
Go ahead, keep talking.
So what I'm saying is this, like, so that's what thing. So breaking down to another way is this: you in a relationship with a young lady,
Okay.
right? And you in a committed relationship, whatever you want to call it. You go, you working, whatever. She goes out with her girls, or she goes out here. She's just somewhere. Y'all down together. She comes back and she says, 2-3 weeks later, whatever. She starts moving funny. Then you say, "Hey, what's going on? I'm noticing you moving kind of whatever." And she said, "Hey, I gotta tell you something. The other day when I went out, I did whatever with whatever da 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 da. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
You know what I mean?" Some people would say, and this may be an unpopular opinion. Some people say, "Well, things happen." I'm not of that mindset. Here's why. Back to choices. From the time you decided to go out, or the time you got yourself in that space, there is a plenitude of data points that if you made one different choice, that would not have been the outcome. But you had to do so many things wrong, or you had to make so many choices, right? In that whole paradigm to get that outcome that you can't sit there and tell me it was a mistake. And you can't tell me you're sorry because it was a choice. So you made a choice.
Right.
So with that choice, I understand it.
Right.
But now I have a choice. And my choice is
Exactly.
I'm gonna get out the way.
Right. Which could end up being, if that's your point of view, right?
Right.
It could be that this person over here having this same issue that you had, he probably end up handling it a little
different
better.
way.
He may say, "You know what? Don't worry about it. We good," because we understand the contract.
We understand the contract.
So if we understand that, okay, we already made a contract here together for this. Now we got to figure out, what are we supposed to learn from this situation?
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
That's so. I want to funnel this back to the lane of suffering, right?
Right.
Because all of these are core attributes that contribute to that particular space of awareness.
Right.
Right. But as we discuss this topic, right, when we recognize such sentiments, right, we also at the same time implore that we're in a space of awareness where we are aligned with the concept of allowance.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that to what my Ak was saying earlier, right? And I think what's kind of pervasive in the conversation is relationships between men and women,
Right.
and how men and women do things to each other, right? So you use the one example about, hey, you talking to somebody, they go out, they make a choice to do something,
Do something.
whatever that is,
Whatever that thing is.
right? On both ends of the spectrum, right? We have to ask ourselves, is there a recognition of three things? What am I supposed to be learning from this?
Mm-hmm.
What practices am I supposed to be aligned with? Right? And how is my consciousness evolving from this circumstance?
Right.
So,
Because in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that, just as much as that person made a choice to do whatever that is, we made a choice to deal with that person.
right. So with that, and this is where my brother said about you choose to suffer, right? And suffering is a choice. It's those choices, it's those small, minute choices. You brought up an example about in the beginning of your day, where you at now. We started at 3:30. Everything you did from the time you woke up to
Right,
now was a
right,
choice.
Right.
Right.
Those are those choices, right?